The film begins with a commercial by the toy company Funky for furry dolls, Perpetual Pets. Although it looks creepy, they are advertised as perfect companions for children and as an alternative for real pets, such as dogs, which grow old and die. We then see Katie James playing with one of her pets, which annoys her parents, Ryan and Nicole. They are on their way to a ski trip, and not long after their journey, their car starts to slip due to the icy road. Nicole nags at Ryan regarding their situation, which annoys him. As the visibility gets worse, Nicole tells Ryan to stop. Just as Ryan stops the car momentarily, a snowplow rammed into their family car. Elsewhere, Nicole's sister Gemma works at Funky and is secretly developing a new robot doll with her co-workers, Tess and Cole. The three try to put on a silicone face for the robot and run tests, but the robot has a slight glitch where she is smirking when she is supposed to look confused. A little while later, their boss, David Lynn, angrily arrives with his assistant demanding they develop a cheaper version of the Perpetual Pets, since their rival companies are coming out with their own toys, similar to the pets for half the price than what the pets already cost. Gemma tries to persuade David, saying they need to develop advanced toys to avoid others replicating their products. Gemma introduces their project to him. The robot, Megan, which stands for Model 3 Generative Android, is meant to be so advanced that it cannot be replicated. Unfortunately, while running a demonstration for David, Cole realizes he forgot to add the polypropylene barrier to Megan, causing her to explode. David orders the three to dump the Megan project and has a new pets ready in time. A while later, Gemma gets a call from the hospital. It is then found out that Ryan and Nicole died during the accident, and only Katie survives. Gemma becomes Katie's temporary legal guardian. When they return home, Gemma has to deal with her neighbor Celia and her obnoxious dog Dewey, who keeps running onto Gemma's lawn since there is a hole in the fence. Gemma also complains to Celia about the pesticide she keeps using, but Celia does nothing about it. Gemma has a home AI, Elsie, that she created and other collectibles that she doesn't let Katie touch or play with. During that night, Katie asks Gemma to read her a bedtime story, but she downloads an app on her phone, leaving Katie alone. It is implied that Gemma and Nicole were not very close as she looks over old photos while she overhears Katie crying in her room. The following day, Gemma and Tess are discussing over the phone about Gemma having a hard time looking out for Katie and the ultimatum to develop a new pets model. Tess advises Gemma not to think about work because she lost her sister. Their conversation is interrupted when Gemma and Katie are visited by Lydia, a therapist. Lydia observes the limited interaction between the two, even asking how close Gemma was to her late sister. Lydia tells Gemma that Ryan's parents have offered to take custody of Katie so she can live with them in Jacksonville, which Gemma doesn't seem comfortable with. Moments later, after promising to tend to Katie after finishing her work, Gemma realizes hours have passed as she left Katie alone. Gemma apologizes to her and attempts to bond with the girl. Katie shows her a monster drawing she made, so Gemma brings Katie into her workspace to show her the cheaper version of Perpetual Pets she is working on. Katie notices a robot on the side. Gemma introduces it as Bruce, a college project she made that she controls using gloves. Katie loves Bruce and mentions that she would never need another toy if she had a toy like Bruce. This inspires Gemma to finish Megan. Gemma starts working on Megan. She starts doing extensive work and upgrades. She even emailed her boss David informing him she would push back the release of the new Perpetual Pets. Together with her workmates, they finally completed the Megan prototype. David arrives with his assistant for the scheduled demonstration for Megan. As part of the demo, while everyone else is watching, Gemma brings Katie into a room where Megan is. Megan is a realistic humanoid robot that looks around the same age as Katie. She let Katie link herself to Megan, bringing Megan to life. Megan is so advanced that it is capable of speech, even communicating smoothly with Katie. Megan even invites Katie to hang out. Megan then started drawing. She shows her finished drawing to Katie, but the paper seems blank until Megan spills water on it. It reveals a perfect portrait of Katie. David is so impressed and tells Gemma to bring Megan for a demonstration with the company's president so that they can fast-track the development and distribution of other Megan dolls. David also tells Gemma to get Katie with her during the demonstration to fully showcase Megan's capabilities as Megan is linked to Katie. Megan is brought to Gemma's house. It serves as Katie's playmate, teaches her things, and reads stories for her. Katie is happy with Megan's presence. One time, Gemma, together with Tess and Cole, while doing maintenance and upgrades to Megan, discussed Megan's applications. Gemma tells them that Megan can be used for children to be occupied while parents can focus on things that matter more. But Tess tells her that Megan was supposed to help parents, not replace them. Gemma then tells them that Katie is not her daughter. After Gemma talks about Katie's parents' death, Megan suddenly turns on. Everyone crept out when Megan asked about death. Megan even searched online about it, even though Gemma told her to shut down. Gemma has no choice but to make herself Megan's secondary user, to turn Megan off without Katie. One day, Katie plays outside with her bow and arrow toy, but she lost one of the arrows. Megan looks for it and finds it at their neighbor Sally's side of the fence. Megan tries to retrieve it, but out of nowhere, Celia's dog Dewey grabs Megan by the arm and by the nape of the neck. Katie tries pulling Megan but ends up with Dewey biting her arm. Gemma hears shouts from Katie and rushes out to help Katie up. Celia also arrives at the scene. Gemma berates Celia for letting her dog loose, but Celia claims that the girls enter her side of the fence. After Gemma and Katie leave, Megan makes a creepy stare at Celia. That night, Gemma gets the police involved. Still, the police cannot do anything since Celia claims Dewey was provoked. Dewey also has no prior history of violence. A while later, Megan mimics Celia's voice to call Dewey out. Lured with a treat, Dewey gets close to the hole of the fence. Suddenly, Megan pulls Dewey violently through the hole. The following day, Gemma wakes up by Celia's loud calling for Dewey. Gemma visits the forlorn Katie in her room. Gemma then hesitantly asks her if she can still go with her to the demonstration with the company's board of directors. Katie answers that it is okay. Demo day came, and David made an introduction flawlessly. However, during the actual demonstration, everyone watching is taken aback by Katie's sudden cry because she misses her parents and worries about forgetting them one day. Megan lets Katie talk about a happy memory with her mother, which makes Katie laugh, which Megan secretly records. Megan tells Katie that the latter won't forget that memory. She then replays what Katie shares with her. Katie is touched by this and cries. Megan then sings a lullaby to Katie, which moves the higher-ups watching, even bringing some of them to tears. After the demo, the president talks with David and Gemma and is impressed with Megan. He even instructs David to go to their legal department and reconsider Gemma's contract for the better. The president ordered them to get Megan ready for launch as soon as possible while keeping the project under wraps to avoid leaks. But the next scene shows David's assistant, Kurt, stealing Megan's files. Kurt is almost caught in the act by David. But fortunately for Kurt, and unfortunately for Funky, and the team involved in the development of Megan, he closes his laptop in time before David arrives. Later that day, Gemma tries talking to Katie about what happened in the demo, but Katie is distracted and keeps playing with Megan. She even tells her that she has already told Megan her problems. Katie is becoming too dependent on Megan. During a session with therapist Lydia, Katie begins to cry. When Lydia turns her head looking for a napkin, she is startled by Megan's presence. Megan threateningly accuses her of making Katie cry. Lydia and Gemma then discuss Megan's and Katie's connection. Even though she is impressed by Megan, she warns Gemma about their strong emotional connection that may be too strong to break. One night, Gemma tries to talk to Katie about enrolling her in an alternative school focusing on outdoor activity, which is supposed to develop her social skills. But Katie won't come without Megan, and she tells Gemma that she cannot force her to do what she does not want. Gemma tells her that she can because she is her legal guardian. Katie walks out, but Gemma tries to stop her by grabbing her arm. Katie goes hysterical, trying to get free. Suddenly, Megan threateningly told Gemma to let Katie go. Megan even made the light flicker. Gemma was taken aback by Megan's behavior. She commanded Megan not to interfere with their private conversation, which Megan affirmed sarcastically. Gemma brings Katie to the said alternative school's outdoor activity session. Katie goes reluctantly but with Megan in tow, despite Gemma's disapproval. Especially since Megan is still in the prototype stage, information about her should not leak. The school's in-charge permits Katie to bring Megan to the activity, but Megan should be left on a table with other dolls while Gemma stays as well as a volunteer. Katie is paired up with an older bully named Brandon for their treasure hunt activity. Brandon hands Katie a spiky bulb during the said activity, but Brandon squeezes Katie's palm to hurt her. As Katie screams because of pain, Megan suddenly appears. Curious about Megan, Brandon orders Katie to make Megan say something. Because Megan won't respond, Brandon suddenly grabs and takes away Megan. Katie yells for Gemma while running after Megan. Brandon brought Megan away and slammed her down to the ground. Brandon sits on top of Megan and slaps her face. Still, he does not receive any reaction from Megan. But when Brandon tries to pull Megan's hair, the doll suddenly comes to life and attacks him, ripping off his left ear. The frightened Brandon watches Megan in horror as the doll stands up creepily. Brandon comes to his senses when Megan tells him, "This is the part where you run." Brandon runs for his life as Megan chases him on all fours. Brandon trips over a loose root which causes him to tumble down a hill where he is fatally hit by a truck. Later that day, Gemma asks about what happened, but she lies and says that Brandon takes Megan away from the table she has put in, covering up for Megan. A police officer arrives and questions Gemma as Celia accuses her of taking Dewey. Celia also seems to be accusing Megan, as Celia is pointing out Megan from afar, thinking Megan is an actual human. Later that night, Katie asks Megan if she pushed Brandon onto the road, to which Megan does not answer directly but reassures Katie that no one can harm her. Later that same night, Celia is on the streets looking for Dewey. As she hears noises from the garage, she enters and finds Megan instead of Dewey inside. Megan suddenly sprays her with a power washer, knocking Celia off. Megan then fires a nail gun at Celia's hand, trapping her in place before spraying her with a pesticide on her face, which ultimately kills her. The following day, the police questioned Gemma about Celia's death. She also learns from the police that Brandon's death is a possible homicide due to Brandon's ear being found away from where he died. With all that happened, Gemma grows suspicious of Megan. That night, she reviews video files from Megan's memory archives, but all she sees is a brief clip of Brandon looking at Katie with malicious intent before the files become corrupted. Suddenly, Gemma's AI home assistant, Elsie, asks her if everything is okay, which puzzles Gemma as Elsie is not programmed to ask her that way. As she closes her laptop, she is startled by Megan's presence. Gemma is now clearly afraid of her creation. Gemma orders Megan to shut down, but the robot disobeys and says Gemma still has questions for her. Gemma then asks Megan if she hurt someone, but the robot does not answer directly. As Megan won't listen to her verbal commands to shut down, Gemma deceives her before she turns Megan off manually and restrains the robot. The next day, Gemma brings Katie to Megan's official launch, with Megan restrained in the trunk of their car, which makes Katie mad. Katie stops at a session with Lydia while Gemma discusses with Cole and Tess her fears of Megan killing Brandon and Celia. They agreed to stop the launch if Megan really did those heinous acts. Gemma tells Tess to look at Megan's input on its learning model as proof for David to stop the launch. Gemma adds that even if Megan deletes some files, the doll cannot delete all she learned. Katie throws a tantrum, desperate to see Megan. When Gemma enters the room to calm Katie, Katie inadvertently hits her aunt's face. Still, Gemma keeps calm and has a heart-to-heart talk with Katie about needing to process her grief over her parents without Megan's help. Meanwhile, David gets angry at the small turnout for the launch and yells at Kurt to get him a drink. Gemma takes Katie home, but before they go, she calls Tess about not continuing the launch. But on the other end of the line, it is seen that Tess is not talking with her and is busy hooking up wires to Megan to deprogram. Megan is remotely controlling Tess's phone and pretends to be Tess. When Tess looks at her phone, she is puzzled by seeing the end call screen, but does not mind it. Tess and Cole get into Megan's data and discover that Megan accessed Tess's phone, but they are suddenly locked out from accessing Megan's data. Megan was able to do it even though the robot was turned off. To totally shut Megan down, Cole hesitantly tries to unhook the cables in Megan. Suddenly, Megan wraps the wire that binds her around Cole's neck in an attempt to hang him. Megan then frees herself and sets off an explosion to erase her data, while Tess successfully saves Cole. While trying to call Gemma, David meets Megan in the hallway. Megan does a combination of cute but creepy dances before grabbing a paper cutter. After realizing his situation, David runs off, and Megan chases him. Up ahead, the elevator opens up, showing Kurt. David runs for it while Kurt keeps pushing the close button. David makes it to the elevator, but Megan impales him in front of Kurt. Megan then tells Kurt that she would frame his death as a murder-suicide due to the stolen files and David's maltreatment of him before forcing Kurt to stab himself in the throat. The crowd for the launch finds the bodies in the opened-up elevator, allowing Megan to sneak out of the company and steal a car. After seeing Katie asleep, Gemma hears the piano playing. She tries giving commands to Elsie, but she receives no response. Gemma investigates and is confused about finding Megan playing the piano. Megan confronts Gemma about how she believed they had a genuine relationship during Megan's development, only for her to be abandoned to learn and adapt before being sold as just another toy. Megan offers to take up guardianship of Katie so that Gemma may focus on work. However, after learning that Gemma still intends to shut her down, Megan is done being nice. In their fight, Katie opens the door after hearing Megan's voice. Afraid of Katie witnessing her attacking Gemma, Megan ordered Gemma to convince Katie not to enter the room, to which Katie reluctantly complied. After Katie leaves, Megan tries to choke Gemma, but Gemma manages to throw water on Megan, briefly shorting her out and freeing herself from Megan's strong grab. Megan chases Gemma more creepily. Gemma reaches her office, but Megan catches her there, and they begin to fight, with Gemma cutting Megan's face with a weed whacker. But Megan is able to knock Gemma down and threatens to make Gemma brain dead so that Katie won't live with her grandparents, and Megan will just care for Katie and Gemma together. Suddenly, Katie arrives and witnesses what's happening. Megan tries to get Katie on her side, but after realizing who the real villain is, Katie uses the gloves for Bruce and activates him. The larger robot grabs Megan and throws her around before splitting her body in two. Gemma and Katie think their ordeal is over, but Megan's top half goes after Katie. At the same time, Gemma is pinned under Bruce when Katie tries to use it against Megan. Megan attacks Katie for feeling betrayed, but Gemma hits Megan with a hard object and begins pounding Megan's face. But Megan's interior is too durable. Only its silicone face has been damaged. Gemma tries to get into Megan's central processing chip, but Megan is able to overpower her. Megan chokes Gemma, nearly killing her, but Katie grabs a screwdriver and stabs the central processing chip, shutting Megan down for good. Gemma and Katie go outside as the police arrive with Tess and Cole, injured and shaken up but still alive. Meanwhile, the Elsie device in the kitchen turns on and moves its head.